Now to continue, Larry Tongpa said, in short, whether in actuality or in thought, I offer all prosperity and happiness to all my mothers and shall secretly take up on myself all their suffering and afflictions. This is a verse from the 8 verses of Training the Mind by Larry Tongpa. Directly, I would make such offering of offering all the prosperities and happiness to all my mothers, and indirectly and secretly take up on myself all the suffering and afflictions. He explained further, no matter how many profound teachings I have opened up and looked into, all faults indeed turn out to be my own, and all good qualities, those of the noble sentient beings. The key point of that is to give all gain and victory to others, and to take loss and defeat upon myself. Besides this, there is nothing more to understand. For mundane beings, however, we do exactly the opposite. We would force the failure and loss and defeats to the others, but keep the victory and gain to ourselves. That's what the mundane beings do. So we need to practice what Larry Tongpa stated over here. This is the pith instruction given by him. He said that we need to take more of the loss and defeats and then offer the gain and victory to others. This is what the great Bodhisattvas would do. Moreover, Shabopa and I have 18 human methods and 1 horse method, altogether 19. What is the human method? The human method implies that after having engendered a mind set up on supreme enlightenment, one directs every undertaking toward the welfare of sentient beings. So the human method refers to the virtuous aspect to generate the supreme enlightenment and direct all of the actions towards the welfare of the sentient beings. Now, the 18 human methods, what it means by 18 refers to not a very specific number, but rather an idiomatic sense. And then, in terms of the horse method, it refers to the self-cherishing methods. What it refers here is that out of 19, 18 of them are the human method, which is virtuous, but 1 could be of a horse method. So 80% could be virtuous and 1 could be self-cherishing. And he said that now, as for the horse method, holding on to self-cherishing does not allow the mind of enlightenment that has not yet risen to arise, or where it has arisen to remain and increase further. Therefore, one turns away from self-cherishing and trains in harming it as much as possible, while wholeheartedly benefiting sentient beings as much as one can. Shabopa once said, until we perceive ourselves as the enemy, even a master, etc., will not be able to benefit us. Even a Vajra master would not be able to benefit you if you do not perceive yourself as the enemy. This could be difficult to do because let it be practicing, let it be listening to the Dharma teaching. If you were to have lots of the self-cherishing mind, even the Buddha were to stand right in front of you, it would be difficult for you to receive the Dharma teachings. If we see ourselves as the enemy, then everyone will bring benefit. If you were to conquer your self-cherishing mind, then you would not have any kinds of suffering. You will not have suffering to yourself nor the others. If you were to have self-cherishing mind, if you do not perceive yourself as the enemy, if you do not perceive that self-grasping mind as the enemy, then you would not be able to bring benefit to self and others. And during the span of this short life, please endeavor to tame this demon as much as you can. More, having seen ego clinging as the enemy, this profound teaching of abandoning this demon is called the teaching that dispels the evil spirit. At the time of talking about the subduing of evil spirits, in fact, we're talking about the practice to reduce self-grasping. Of course, it would be difficult for the mundane beings like us to completely eradicate all of the self-grasping mind. However, if you were to be very selfish before, now after practice, would you be able to reduce it to 60%, 70%? In such a way, your practice would be very meaningful. The most harmful thing to us is self-grasping. So self-grasping is the demon. It is the evil spirit. Lots of times people would hold on to an external existent being a demon. But if you were to have lots of self-grasping, it really shows that one has lots of self-grasping. If you were to relax with your self-grasping, then the so-called demon would naturally cease as well. Therefore, all kinds of the subduing practices of demons is to see oneself as the enemy rather than seeing others as the enemy. This is quite important. Geshe Namo proclaimed, as soon as you break the tea bricks, is cutting the head of ego clinging. People probably don't really know what that is for. In Tibet, we use the tea that is made in the form of a brick. Whenever we would drink tea in Tibet, we would use a rock to pound on a wooden stake into that tea brick. And then we would grind the tea powder into very fine powder, grind the dried tea into fine powder, and then boil it in the pot. So at every household, there is a brick and then a wooden chisel, and then you can grind it up. Nowadays, you can probably see it in museums. That is why over here, Geshe Namo used this metaphor, this imagery rather, to describe the cutting through of ego clinging. Lots of geshis of Gadampa, they would use various kinds of vivid imagery to describe the practice of cutting through ego clinging, such as at the times of brushing and washing your face or cutting through things. And then Chikawa said, drive all blame into a single direction and train in perceiving the kindness of everybody. And he then continued to say that train in alternating giving and receiving, let them ride on your breath. And detailed method of practice should be known from teachings such as those of the great hearing lineage. This is the hearing lineage of the 7 points of training the mind. We had already studied it before, and I think in the future maybe we should spend more time in it. Now, there's the saying that the detailed method of practicing should be known from the teaching, such as those of the great hearing lineage. Furthermore, from Gyaltse Tokme himself, since it is the root of benefiting others, meditate on exchanging yourself for others. And he continues, after you have understood ego clinging as the enemy, give up conquering others, give up conquering other adversaries. Do not perceive others as your adversaries. After you have understood the quality of sentient beings, carry all beings on the top of your head. And with the power of great love, one wishes that all the sufferings of others ripen upon oneself, and that all one's happiness and virtue ripen upon others. Such an unfabricated, one-pointed state of mind is the supreme mind of enlightenment, exchanging oneself with the others. He himself made this the core of his practice. The author, Choki Dragpa, truly admires the author of the 37 practices of Bodhisattva, that is Gyaltse Tokme, because Gyaltse Tokme is such a great Bodhisattva. Whenever we practice and chant the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva, if you were to do so very frequently, then in your mind stream, the true bodhicitta could easily be generated, easily be arisen. A teacher from my school stated that he constantly would ask his students to chant the 37 practices of Bodhisattva, and he noticed that the anger and aggression within the hearts of the students naturally ceases. Because in Tibet, the students usually tend to be quite aggressive sometimes, and they would fight with each other physically. That is why that teacher particularly required the students to read and chant the 37 practices of Bodhisattva. He noticed that after practicing in such a way, the anger of students naturally cease. I believe many of you sitting here, you probably have lots of either desire or anger or maybe ignorance. Some of you may consider yourself to be very smart, but let it be your activities or in terms of what to accept and what to abandon of the karma, you can be quite ignorant. That is why we need to chant it every day, or if you can do that, maybe chant it every month or every year. In such a way, your bodhicitta can be ever increasing, just as Gyaltse Tokme, the core of his practice and his teaching is to exchange oneself for the others. That is how we should practice.
sunum dai tanche zba nya tomna ni be jana banse jirgan anje ran long chu ba ye chubum sone jo wa jo